Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to today's Daf Yomi NIDDAH Daf Vav. We are holding 3 lines off the top of the Amud, and right in the middle of an interesting discussion. So we all know that the Chachamim applied a Tumah Me'ez Leis of an Isha discovers a flow of Dam. She's considered to be Tameh for the previous 24 hours as well. Now the question is, to what extent? So we know it's only because of uncertainty, because of the unknown factor. Perhaps the Dam was already there, unnoticed. As we're going to see later in the Gemara, that Tumah status is not all-encompassing. It does not apply to regular chulin materials that she had contact with. It only applies to kachim, perhaps truma as well, because of their higher standard, because of their being more fragile and delicate, so to speak. So the question was posed yesterday: what about mishkav and meishav? A regular, standard, full-blown nida. She sits on something, she lies on something. That thing becomes tamei to the highest extent. It's an avatuma, a source of tumah, and if a person were to touch it, he becomes tamei, and his clothing that he's wearing. So what about the me'ez leis period? Previous 24 hours. Do we, what extent of tumah do we apply? Full blown, like a regular nida? Also applies to mishkav and meishav, or perhaps not. And Rava contended yes. She's like a regular nida for mishkav and meishav purposes as well. We have a right from a brisa to Rava's opinion. So we start on the 3rd line from the top. Tanya would say the Rava. We have a right from a brisa to Rava's point. Here goes. Haroya dam. A woman notices dam, not just a stain, real dam. Matama me'ez. She's telling me the previous 24 hours, just in case. So my matama pertaining to what? What is she going to be matama? Mishkav. There you go. Mishkavis and meishavis. Oich, food or mashkin or drink or liquid that she may have touched. Ooh, klicheres hamukav tzamid pasel. Even a klicheres, which is totally sealed, properly plugged, which is typically protected from an oil hameis, but when it comes to onida, there's no protection. Rashi brings the whole Gemara based on the pasuk there that Hesed, she merely moves it, touches it, even from the outside, just moving it around, is metame, even a klicheres. Okay, so although being sealed would protect its content, if the entire kli was an oil hameis, not so by Anida. If she moves it, she's metame the kli as well, despite its plugged seal. Another point, that although we do apply tumah status for the previous 24 hours, but it's not like her schedule's now all messed up. No. We know that today is, the first day of her sighting, etc., etc., so her cycle is pretty organized. There's nothing confusing about it, even though Chacham applied a tumah to the previous 24 hours. But like we said, it's only a chumrah, it's misafik, only to taharis that she may have touched, but not that actually we consider as though she saw dam yesterday. So parshanut-torah is only telling me from today going forward. Today is her day number 1. So she's not messed up in any way in terms of her scheduling. Likewise, another leniency is that her husband who interacted with her in the last 24 hours would not be considered tameh, as typically would happen if a person interacts with a nida. Her tumah sort of jumps over to him. But in this case, since she was not a confirmed nida for the previous 24 hours, just a chumrah midrabanan, so it doesn't affect her husband. Rabbi Kiva Omer, it does. We give her nida status with respect to the man as well. Matama as boil. But ve'ena moina al mashal sharas. In terms of counting, today is number 1, despite the fact that we apply it tumah retroactively for the last 24 hours. But parshanut-torah, she had a chaskas tahara, she's presumed to be Torah until today, and today's her first day of seeing. But araya kasem, if a woman notices a stain, in that case, we have no clue when it arrived. She wouldn't have felt it. So in that case, On the one hand, she's similar to the previous woman. Matama l'mafreya, she's matama retroactively for the previous 24 hours. So my matama. What is affected by her tumah? Anything that she had contact with. Oichle, nomashkin, mishkabes, meshabes, kolecheres, ukolecheres amukav tamid pasel. Here goes. Umukulkalas l'manyan. In this case, we have no clue where she's holding in terms of her cycle, because this thing could have arrived yesterday. Umetama is baila, and also it affects the person who interacted with her in the last 24 hours. Ve'ena moina el mishal sharas, but in terms of actually counting her days, it's only going to be from today. Taisus has a kasha. Well, how could she do otherwise? We have no idea when this thing arrived. So of course, if she's starting her 7-day, clean count, of course it has to be from today. Taisus says that we're speaking that she saw also another day or two after the stain was discovered. The point of the Gemara is to teach us that we can only start counting from the actual sighting of the blood, the flow later on. You can't start from the day of discovering the stain, because perhaps the stain came from elsewhere. There's a whole discussion to explain this apparent redundancy in the Gemara. But in any case, just like if you notice a flow, you get that retroactive, 24-hour back period of tumah, which affects anything you have come to contact with, food, drink, mishkabes and meshabes, likewise by a stain. But here comes a disclaimer. V'zeh v'zeh. In either of those cases, toilin, it's not like she was confirmed to be tameh. It's just maybe. So if she had contact with truma, that truma is not going to be burnt. It's not definitively tameh. It's in limbo. You can't eat it. You can't burn it. Lo yichem lo yisref. In conclusion, what do we see from this brisa? Exactly like Rabbi taught us. The tumah meis leis encompasses mishka v'moshe as well. That's right to Rabbi. Ask the Gemara, why didn't Rabbi just simply quote this brisa? Rabbi, look, Ishmaeli masnisa. We heard about this brisa. Neva masnisa. Why doesn't he just quote the brisa? If he hadn't known about the brisa, so how does he even know it's true? How does he know to make that kavachomer to introduce this tumah of mishka v'moshav during the Meis La'es time frame? Answers the Gemara, certainly he knew about the brisa, but he wasn't content with just quoting the brisa, which could be misconstrued. If only from the brisa, I would say, sure, when the brisa says that during the Meis La'es time frame she's matame mishkav, perhaps it just means that if a person touches the mishkav, he's tameh. If his begadim touch the mishkav directly, begadim are tameh. But to take it to the extent that the mishkav should be matame a person and the begadim is sitting on the person, which did not have direct contact with the mishkav, that's a big chumrah. Perhaps that only applies to a mishkav that was affected by a proper confirmed niddah. But to the extent that the tumah should hop onto the person and to the clothing that he's wearing, perhaps that not. That's why he builds it up through a kavachomer, that even that is true. Fine. Now to the basic halacha of Meis La'es. What does it apply to? Amar Rafuna, Meis La'es should be niddah. When we say the niddah has a tumah going back 24 hours, la kodesh, it only applies to kodesh material. She touches carbon material, which has a very high degree of kedusha, and very highly sensitive to all matters of tumah. We keep it on a very high standard. So if she had contact with that, that becomes tameh. La kodesh, avalei l'truma, but not the truma, which is on a lower tier. Asks the Gemara, so you have an element of advantage by kodesh over truma. Well, there's already a whole discussion back in Maseches Chagiga, a whole listing of things that only applies to kodesh, not to truma. Why doesn't it list this item over there as well? If that's the case, that it's limited to kodesh, listen, it should have been listed gabi mailas, by those advantages. Answers the Gemara Kiktani. You know why it's not mentioned? Because over there we only mention Heicha the Islay Durara, only situations which have an element, a basis. Durara the Tumah. For instance, we speak there about something which became tummy, had to be toivelit, so there's a chumrah in tvila, something which is already tummy, had to be toivelit for kodesh as opposed to truma, because it had some inkling, some element of tumah already. Avalecha, the less like draw the tumah, but in our case, there's no substantiated element of tumah. The whole thing is just an uncertainty. The tumah happened now, but we go back for the previous 24 hours. It's not considered something which is Zerara the Tumah, so it's not, like Tony, it's not mentioned alongside those other cases which are of a different nature. But really, it is true that the Tumah Meis is limited to Kodesh. Meis becomes a Kash. So we have the Brisa, Mai Matama. What will she affect during the 24 hours? Food, liquids. So once the Brisa sort of elaborates into details, you would think it's covering all times. Maila, Ben the Kodesh, Ben the Truma. No, it's going on the Kodesh only. Tashma comes another right. Rabbi Daimer. So the Chachamim instituted a regiment of bedikas. So a woman should examine herself. So a kohenes is eating truma. Rabbi Daimer, af b'shas avarosam elcha b'truma. Not only do they do a bedika when they are approaching, a truma meal to certify that they're tahar and fit for eating truma, even when they're done, when meal's over. When they're leaving, when they're completing their truma meal, they have to do a bedika. The question is, what's the purpose? Meal is over. But the question was posed on that halacha. What was? What's the point? Apparently, the need is to certify that the leftover foods that she's handling now, the foods that were left over from that meal. You want to know what their status is? Sure, what she ate is over, it's gone. But you want to confirm her status right now with respect to the leftovers that she's handling. To ensure that that truma, in fact, is tahor. Oh, that's a kasha. Why? Because a minute ago, Rav Huna told us that there's no issue regarding truma. Regarding truma, we say, what you see is what you get. She found a flow, she found dam. Okay. The concern is limited to that time only. Dayashata. You don't go back in time. So once she's done eating the truma, she walks away from the meal, from the leftovers. So even if she found dam a minute later, how does that affect anything going back in time? Apparently, Meis Leis will have an effect on truma. It's a kasha on Rav Huna who says, no, it's limited to kodesh. It does not apply to truma. Answers the Gemara. Rav Huna will have a different way to explain the reason for that post-meal bedika. It's not coming to ensure the status, the tahara status of the truma that she had handled throughout the meal. It's coming to certify the tahara status of the truma that she's handling now. Suppose she notices dam right now. So the truma that she just put down a minute ago, or a few seconds ago, I should say, will become tummy because it's part and parcel of the same moment in time. It's in such close proximity to the discovery of the dam. It's called kashir vest. Immediately, that's affected by the dam that she just discovered. But you're right, me'es la'es, the tumah that we apply to the previous 24 hours. Well, before the discovery of the dam, of course, that does not apply to truma. Rav Huna Masni, Rav Huna learns. Rav Huna Masni listra shraim shivadeh. Rav Huna learned that the purpose of the post-meal bedika is so that if she discovers dam now, shabbat ka'atzmak shir vest, she checked herself within a shir called shir vest. Rashi says the word vest is miyad, immediately, in social close proximity. So she put down the bananas, and right away she checked, she found down. Those bananas would be affected. Consider as though she was already tummy while she was putting down those bananas. So she should check herself immediately, post-meal, because If turns out that she was discovers dam now, those bananas that she just put down her tummy, so you want to ensure the status of those bananas. So we thought that the Badika was to certify what happened, going back in time. No! It's meant to substantiate her current status. And the activity that took place in very close proximity to her current moment of discovery or non-discovery. So that's the point of the Badika. Tashma comes another kasha. Rav Huna says that Me'es Le'es is only an issue by Kachim, not by Truma. Here comes a story, Maas. So there's a shita of Rabbi Eliezer, discussed later on, who says that a woman, any woman, who sort of took a break, she missed a couple of cycles. So 3 cycles in a row, there was no dam. She's considered disengaged from dam. And should she see again, we suspend the Me'es Le'es concept, and it's only Daya Sha'ata. She's only going to be Tamei from that moment going forward. Chacham disagree. They say it only applies to certain cases, certain women who are not accustomed to seeing a dam, but not to a regular woman who happened to take a break for a couple of months. Now it so happens that Rebbe once ruled leniently, like Rebbe Eliezer Shita. So what happened was there was this type of woman who had suspended her cycle. She missed, and she had discovered dam, and she had been involved in, she wasn't handling some materials prior to noticing the dam. Rebbe says not to worry. There's no Me'es Le'es concept by this woman, like Rebbe Eliezer Shita. So there was a story of Asa Rebbe followed Rebbe Eliezer, and then he recalled Lachash Niskar that he shouldn't have done that. Amar, he says, you know what? Done is done. Kadayu, Rebbe Eliezer is worthy enough. Listen, Mechalov, to rely on him. Return to Talmud Bavli. B'shas HaTchach, in a time of need. Rashi says it was a time of famine, there was a shortage of food. Taisus learns that the fellow who had asked the question had left town. It would have been a real big hassle to go find him. So B'shas HaTchach, we'll just keep it that way. But the question was, what exactly took place? What was the back and forth here? Initially he adopted the lenient approach, Rebbe Eliezer approach, and then he reminded himself about something, he regretted, and he said, let's leave it alone. What do you mean he recalled? What did he recall? Do you mean Lachash Niskar? Rebbe Eliezer? Then in fact we do not accept Rebbe Eliezer's opinion. Ella rather Karabanan. Well, if that's the case, then how could it, even in a time of Dechak, how could he go with the opinion which is not acceptable halachically? How would he follow Rebbe Eliezer? Ella, apparently what the Gemara means is like this. Itmar, there was no definitive conclusion to the machlekes. There was no clear-cut conclusion like either opinion. But what did he recall? He recalled that it wasn't a yachid against a yachid. It was an individual, Rebbe Eliezer, opposed by the multitude, by the rabbin. The halacha is, when it's a yachid or rabbin, we pass like the rabbin. That's what he recalled. That it wasn't another individual disagreeing with Rebbe Eliezer. Ela rabbin pligale was the multitudes. So he should have sided with them. That's the as per the standard, procedure. Yachid v'rabbin, we go with the rabbin. Omar, but still he says, Kadayu Rebbe Eliezer, in this case, I'll just stick to Rebbe Eliezer. End of story. Now, what exactly was the issue? What was the material, the matter that was subject to this discussion? Now, it would make very much sense if Me'es Le'es is concerned by Truma. So there would have been Truma during Rebbe's lifetime, even though he lived after the Churban, Rashi says, in the end of the Tanaic period. But there was Truma still in effect. Hainu, the Habe Truma, May Rebbe. It explains the presence of the Truma phenomenon in the time of Rebbe. Early Amros the Kodesh, but if the whole Meis Leis is only an issue by Kodesh, there was no Kodesh during his time. Kodesh made Rebbe Mihavoy. He was after the Churban. How do you have Kodesh? Answer to Ula, as per Ula, Damar Ula. Yep, they held on to elements of Kodesh Chavraya, the upstanding, righteous people in Golil. Medakon, Matkon, Begalila. Matkon means like they were matir. They kept their wine pure and clean, just in case. Rashi says, just in case the Beis Hamikdash will be rebuilt. Shami Beis Hamikdash. So they kept the Kodesh standards. Hachinami, likewise over here, Rebbe, in time of Rebbe, was speaking about material that was maintained on a standard of Kodesh. Hence, the Meis Leis would pose a concern. Tashmai comes another raya. Rav Huna told us that Meis Leis is only concerned by Kodesh, not by Truma. Masad was a story with the maidservant Sharon Gamliel. So she was engaged in baking loaves of teruma bread. Now it sounds like we're talking plain teruma. And she had this practice that between each loaf she would rinse her hands, do a self-examination to ensure her tahara status and the tahara of the breads. But it turns out, at the very last bread, Badka u'matzah tmeya. So after the last bread, she discovered dam. What to do? Ubas v'shal shomul. She came to ask the boss. V'amrli says kulon tmeyas. Everything is affected. Amrli, she says, no, 1 second, Rebbe. I executed a bedika between each loaf. So why is everything considered tamei? Amrli says, oh, that's the case. In Cain, he tamei. Only the last one is tamei. The rest are okay. End of story. So what does the Brisa say? Kikral truma. This retroactive truma would have affected and did affect truma material. Apparently, Meis Leis is an issue by truma as well, unlike Rav Huna. The answer is no. My truma slach me toida. Truma here is a reference to the portion of the toida breads, which is karba material that's given to a kohen. Out of the 40 breads, 4 different categories of breads, right? 10, 10, 10, 10. One of each 10, a total of 4 are given to the kohen. These are truma, but they're truma of karba materials. So, again, we're back to kachim, and kachim is certainly affected by Meis Leis. Asks the Gemara, hold it, how could you say that? Truma slach me toida b'afiyah my boya. What you doing baking the breads meant for the kohen? Meaning, the standard procedure is, first you bake up the 40 breads, and then you take a sampling, 1 bread per category, baked bread, and you give it to the kohen. You don't give it to the kohen before you bake it. So how could you be engaged in baking the kohen's truma bread? That for Shinabel is shayu. All those standard procedures to bake it and then make it into truma. In this case, they designated it as kohen bread before they baked it, while it was still being kneaded in its in its dough form. Rashi brings, Taisus brings, this way they can, make them look special and supreme. So they chose to designate it in its dough form. And that explains why she's baking, the kohen's truma bread. As per the following halacha, that you can do that. See, declares as follows. Although ideally, you're meant to have a total of 40 breads by the carbon toida, but if you have them in 4 jumbo breads, 1 of each type, you're okay. When the question was posed on this halacha, how could that work? But being not barn, don't we need 40 l'mitzvah? Yeah, that's preferred. That's ideal, but you could make it into just 4. So we condense, 40 into 4. Asks the Gemara, but what about the kohens? But being not frushi truma, you have to give 1 to the kohen, 1 out of each type. Okay, maybe you'll slice off a chunk of, each one of the 4 breads. Instead of giving him a full bread, you give him a chunk of the jumbo one. You can't do that. Echad, Amar Achman, the Torah specifies you got to give him 1 loaf, 1 uncut unit, 1 complete loaf. Amar Achman, Shloitel Prusa, you can't slice and give it to him, Barminan. And the answer was given. How does this work? The only solution would be that it was designated in dough form. So you had this huge dough, took off a piece and says, this is going to be for the Kohen's portion. Then he baked the rest as one big jomo bread. And the Kohen's bread is still whole, complete, uncut. What do we see from here? That you can be miyached the truma of the lachmei toida in the dough form. That explains our story as well with the shivcha. That's exactly what happened. After shinu b'lishayu, they made the afrasha while in its dough form. So we thought we're talking truma. No, we're talking about lachmei toida. Tashmai comes another raya, similar story, almost a replication. Shuv Masa, there was another story, in this case, she was packing up the wine, sealing the barrels. She was barreling up, she was sealing up the barrels of wine. And again, between each one, she would be Madicha Devamayim, rinse her hands, do an examination, after the very last barrel, she discovers blood. She came to ask Gamliel says, retroactive tumah, everything is tumah, kulan tumah. Amr said, what do you mean? I did a b'dika between each one. Amr said, oh, if that's the case, you saved the day. MK and heat, only the last one is affected. But the rest are tahiris. Same question as before. What are we talking? Truma or kodesh? So it makes very sense if one of these two stories was truma, one was kodesh. That explains why she came to ask again, because of a different circumstance. That explains why she came to ask again. Eli Amras, if you're going to tell me, either the kodesh, that they're both identically kodesh, because only kodesh is subject to meis leis issues. Why would she go back and ask him again if it's the same story? She knows what to do from last time. You think it's the same person or two different maidservants? So they're both kodesh and happen under different circumstances with different players. Okay, so according to this piece of Gemara, Rav Huna teaches that meis leis, the retroactive, tumah going back 24 hours, is only an issue by kodesh, not by truma. There's another version of Rav Huna. Yep, meis leis shebenida is mitam, will affect bein lekodesh, bein letruma. Mimai, what's my proof? How do I know? For that same reason that we had before as a kasha, this is going to be a raya. We have the Mishnah Chagiga, which cites elements of superiority applying to kodesh over truma, and it's not mentioned there. Apparently, regarding meis leis, there's no difference between kodesh and truma. It affects them both equally. Amar le Rav Nachman. So Nachman asked him, really? About Tani Tana lekodesh truma, we have a brayso that meis is only concerned for kodesh, not truma. So what's the answer? Kibla minei Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. So Rav Nachman heard this, the question from Rav Nachman, and he resolved it as follows. He says, when the brayso excludes truma, we're not talking about regular truma. Regular truma would be subject to meis leis issues. Rather, we're speaking b'chulin, regular, ordinary food, which was maintained as though it's chulin. Kahanim would do that in order to practice, keeping higher standards or for whatever reason. So sometimes they would maintain it as though it's truma. Sometimes they would maintain it even on a higher level, as though it's kodesh, and subject to all the halachas of kosher. And that's what we're talking about. B'chulin shenas v'ataras kodesh. So when we say meis leis applies to kodesh, we're not talking about legitimate kodesh, legitimate truma. We're talking about chulin, which is being sort of treated, labeled as though it's kodesh. So we give it the same standard as kodesh, and it's subject to meis leis as well. But not v'loy b'chulin shenasu al taras truma. But look, chulin, which is being treated as truma, that's already a stretch, right? You can do it, but to say that we should treat it as truma regarding being subject to the two meis leis, it's already a stretch. We don't want to do that. It's already going a bit far. So again, according to the second version, Isha discovers that she's telling me for the previous 24 hours, misafik, midrabanan, regarding kodesh only, according to the first version of Rav Huna. According to the second version, kodesh and truma. And regarding chulin, regular chulin not, but chulin that was given the status of kodesh, yes, but not chulin that was merely given the status of truma. Okay, pick it up Be'ez Hashem tomorrow. All the best to you, and Hatzlacha Rab.